right, guys, we're gonna go and show you how to use this RV. First off, you have your power jack right here. There's an up and a down and a button right here for lights, okay? As we come around, you have your propane tanks here. There's just a lever in there. It'll point towards which tank you're using. You're just gonna turn it on and then point the arrow towards that tank. And then behind that, hopefully you don't ever need to get into that, but behind there is your battery boxes. This storage compartment right here is gonna hold all the gear like the sewer hose, power cord, all that stuff goes into this one. There's a little bit of extra room for you to put some of your gear in there as well. As we come around, we're gonna talk about the hot water heater. Now this can get extremely hot, so just be careful. You don't want to lean anything against the side of a RV like this at all. Because even when you walk inside, it might wobble a little bit. You might rub into the RV, so just make sure you're away from there, and this gets hot, so be careful. You do have your jacks here. These are electric jacks. They are not they're stabilizer jacks. They are not leveling systems. So they'll come down, they come down. Usually one will come down at a time, it'll touch the ground, and then the other leg starts to come down. All that does is make the trailer a little bit less wobbly when you're walking inside. The big key here is before you leave your campground, walk around, look underneath the RV, make sure you've raised those completely up. Sometimes somebody might raise it up and they see one side go up, but the other side hasn't come up yet. So just make sure you wait, look underneath there, make sure they're both up. You do have your door here. Now to operate the handle, all you do is you're actually gonna lift up on it like this and it spins just like that to go into space. And then what you're gonna do to get in, you'll actually just pull this lever, it just flips it out, and then you'll flip it out one more time just like that. Make sure if you're ever using this, you use the steps. There's a little bar underneath here. I'll show you in 1 second. What you don't wanna do is step right here. Don't step on this to get in. It might be a little quicker or something like that, but don't do that, please. It'll actually damage the surrounding housing and things, so just be careful. To close this, we always recommend you hook it over just like this, so while you're driving, the door doesn't pop open on you or anything. There's a large awning. Just make sure any wind, rain, anything like that at all, you make sure this guy's closed. We always recommend if you're literally not sitting underneath the awning, close it. Don't go to bed with it out, anything like that. Don't go hiking. They are giant kites, and these are just aluminum arms, so a little gust of wind can actually bend them or break them, and they're about $2,000 to replace, so just be careful with that. You do have another heater system here, so just make sure you don't lean anything. This gets hot. Couple electrical outlets. Just remember, any major appliance, air conditioner, microwave, all that stuff, including outlets, you need a generator running to power. A generator or plugged in at the RV park using shore power. As we come around, we're gonna talk about the door. Just be careful operating these doors. They are glass. You don't wanna slam them or anything like that. We've had a couple people break glass before, break doors, so just be careful with that. Now we're gonna talk about this system. This is a newer system with the steps and everything. We love it. First off, we're gonna talk about how to use these doors. Now these latches can be super stiff as you come around because there's actually a liner that goes around the door. And what can happen is when they're new, they're pretty stiff. So what you wanna do to open a door is actually put your hand right here. You're gonna push on it, you're gonna pull the lever, and it opens right up just like that. Now, anytime you're operating the stairs, you wanna make sure this door is completely open 180 degrees. You're going to see this blue lever, you're gonna pull the lever. This is gonna spin all the way down. So I'm gonna show you how to do that right now. You just pull it and it drops down. Now, each leg, I'm gonna show you here, has a little pin. These pins you can adjust to make sure each leg is at the right height and level. What you wanna make sure is these stairs, when they come down, that this is flush. See how it's up a little bit right now? You actually want it a little bit lower, because if you go to close this door and that's up, it's actually gonna hit the bottom of the door and bend the door frame. So just be careful there. Usually when traveling, you're actually gonna be like this. That way your side-by-side tires can fit in here. So what you're gonna do, once it's set up, you actually rotate it down just like this. That's gonna create your stairs to get in, and then we're gonna talk about the door handle. Now, I'm gonna close this up and talk about the door handle. So to close it, first you're just gonna re-flip this over just like this. Now it's flat. We're gonna lift this up. We're gonna take that blue lever that we talked about before. We're gonna hold it, we're gonna go right into the space. Now, say these stairs were down, you're gonna use your door handle here. Now to do this, this is super easy. All you do, you're just gonna pull it out just like this. There's a bar right here, and you're actually gonna push down on it, and see how that's created a nice handrail for you to come in and out with those stairs. So to reverse the process, or to close it, you just reverse the process. Just always watch your fingers and everything. You're gonna swing it up just like that, flips down, perfect. Now, when you're closing the door, same thing, you're gonna swing it around. We always recommend you push right on this area. There's a nice latch, give it a good one right there, and then you're good to go. Now, as we come around, we're gonna talk about the fueling area. We don't recommend you use this. You never know what kind of fuel's been in there or how long it's been sitting, but I'll show you where to put fuel in on the other side for the generator if you're using a generator. There are some fuel level, and this is where your fuel gauge would be located. Once again, you have your rear stabilizer jack system. So you have the front, and then there's the button for the rear. Let's talk about the rear hatch. Now to operate these, pretty simple. All you do is lift up just like this. It kind of unlocks it. You'll do the same thing on that. And then this is on a giant hinge. It's actually going to rotate down. Just make sure when you're loading and unloading that that ramp is on level ground. You don't want something high and then you pull in and one of the sides of the ramp isn't touching the ground or anything. Just be real careful with that. And then to close it, you're going to push it, you're going to flip it back up, and then you just push these down and you're good to go. Okay, now let's talk about the other side over here. As we come around, we're going to talk about the fuel. So unleaded fuel only goes right in here. We always recommend when you're filling, you actually stand a little bit to the side and run it on half pressure. What can happen is these can regurgitate and spit back out at you, and if you're standing right in front of it, you might get gasoline all over you if you did that. So just be careful right there, and then you know the fuel gauge is on the other side like we talked about. We also have your short cord right here. This is where it would plug in. It's 50 amp service. And then one other thing I did not mention that I do want to quickly mention is when you're loading a side-by-side, it's actually dovetail. So when you come in, what you don't want to do is, first you want to be in all-wheel drive and you want to kind of roll up slowly and in. What you don't want to do is spin those tires. What can happen is that'll tear the floor or damage the floor. So just make sure you're constant, you're steady on the gas, pulling in, you're not overdoing it, you're just rolling in. All-wheel drive always works best, okay? And then just be careful when you're pulling in, you're not hitting anything, watch your roof line and then the cabinets and everything like that as well. Tires, these are very large. These vehicles don't come with a jack to change your tire. You would actually use your vehicle jack. The trailers don't have one, so you'd use your vehicle jack if you had to change a tire. Coming around, you have a large slide out. It comes out about 4 feet. Just make sure you are not parked next to any trees, and there's no debris or anything that can drop onto the slide out when it's open. Also, make sure nobody's putting pressure on the inside of the countertop or anything when you're operating the slide out, and make sure when you close it, there's nothing in the way. You don't want to grind into the floor as well. Couple things. Anytime you are out and about, make sure you are 15 feet away from trees on each side of the RV. These are huge, they're large. The turning radius often can be deceiving. So people will turn, they'll tear a roof, they'll hit the roof line, all that kind of stuff. That all could be easily avoided if you just stay away from trees 15 feet on each side. Same thing, no scratches on the side, all that kind of stuff. So just be really careful moving. These are not off-road vehicles, nothing like that at all. You shouldn't be close to trees at all, okay? As we come around, we're actually gonna talk about your water fill area and everything. But before we get there, we're gonna talk about the sewer. If you've never dumped a sewer on an RV, there's actually a sewer hose. It actually screws on, let me show you. If you come in here, there's two locations right here. One's gray water, one's black water. So you'll actually put the sewer hose on, and then there's a pull valve here and another one there. And what you'll do is actually pull those valves and let that drain. Just remember, you want to make sure that the hose is tightly secured on there, and you want to usually use the black water first and then chase it down with the gray water. That kind of flushes out the system there for you. Now let's talk about water still. As you come around, this has a whole control panel for water. All the directions are right up here, okay? You do have a black tank flush, so since we were just talking about that, you'll put a hose right onto here, and then make sure anytime you're running water, this is actually gonna clean out the black tank. So anytime you're running water there, you need to make sure that that black valve is open, as we talked about before on the back side here. Don't ever fill that up with those valves being closed, because what can happen is they can actually damage the tank, or you could get backflow of sewage into the RV, so just make sure you be careful with that. And then you have all these levers and switches. This is gonna be your city water and your fill. So you'll change these dials, just follow the directions here. It'll say city water, it'll say dry camping, and power fill for the tank right here, okay? So it's pretty awesome. You guys are gonna love this RV. Just also remember, watch out for the exhaust on the generator. It's high enough out of the way. Just make sure that you're not, you're hooked onto your hitch. Good, you're not kind of sitting, squatting like this with the front end down or anything. But then again, you also don't want to be too high, so you just want to make sure you're level. But anyways, let's go inside and let me show you how to use it inside. All right, guys, we're gonna go over how to use this RV. First off, right here's the brains of the trailer, okay? It's like the control panel. So right here, it's got most everything on here. So let's talk about the generator first. If it's equipped with a generator, you're gonna go ahead and to start it, you actually hold the button down. It says stop, it's actually gonna prime it. Once this light turns red, you'll push the button up and that'll go ahead and crank on the generator. You need to hold it until it starts. And then to stop it, you're just gonna go ahead and push that down as well. You do have some gauges right here. These are guides. They're not 100% accurate, and a lot of times they're actually inaccurate, so just be aware of that. You have your bed lift control. That's to raise and lower those beds. Just make sure there's nothing underneath it. And also, if you're gonna be sitting and using the lower bunks, that the legs are completely down, and we'll talk about how to do that here in a minute. You have your fuel pump button. You have your refrigerator on-off button. So it is a 12-volt refrigerator. You do need to turn this on to have the fridge work. And then inside the refrigerator, right on the top, when you open up the doors, there's an on-off and control for the temperature. So just be aware of that. You have your water pump. You have your lights in the rear. You have some ceiling lights. You also have your awning lights, step light, and then the accent lighting within the trailer. You also have your awning in out button. Just remember, if it's windy, rainy, stormy, anything like that at all, make sure you have that guy closed. Those are just aluminum arms on those awnings, and they can snap off or break, and they're about $2,000 to replace. So just be really careful with that. And then you have your slide control. That's going to operate the slide out in and out. Just remember, make sure nothing is in the way as you send it out outside, and then make sure there's nothing in the way when you bring it in. You don't want to scrape it or tear the floor. There is a compartment area behind where the sink comes in. Just make sure you don't trap anything back behind in that area in there, so you don't want to slide into that and crush something and damage something. You do have some fan controls here. These are for the fans. Right here, and then you do have the solar control panel here. Now we're going to talk about the beds in the back and the chairs. These are awesome. It's on the electric lift, so this will just come down. A couple things you want to be aware of are the legs. You do not ever want to sit on this unless the legs are completely down. So what you're going to do is you're going to lower it, and then there's some little buttons here. You'll actually push the button, and then that'll actually let you articulate that. There are a couple more pins, one here and one there. We prefer you don't use these. And if you did, you need to return it back in this condition where it's all pinned in. Perfect. What can happen is if you have really a tall side-by-side, you can actually swing these arms down and to the side. Now what that's gonna do is actually make your interior space when you pull in a lot smaller, but you'll be a little bit taller. So just be aware of that. And then you need to always make sure these pins are put right back in immediately, okay? These are the ones that you're probably gonna be using the most right here. Like I said, there's a little button, you're gonna push it, it swings down, and then that'll be the support when you're sitting on them. Now how these work is they'll come down, and then you just can rotate, flip and rotate the back right here, and that creates the couch. Or if you want it in the sleeping position, it'll rotate back and over into this position when it's down, creates another bed. One thing we want you to be aware of, especially if there are kids or children using this, right behind here, at the end of the bed, all the way to the wall, there's about a foot gap. And what you don't want somebody to do, like a child, is accidentally fall back down in here and get caught somehow. They could catch their neck or something like that. You need to be really careful and conscious of this right here so nobody gets trapped in there. Now we're gonna swing around and we're gonna talk about some stuff over here. You do have your fireplace. That is 12 volt, and it also has the audio controls. And then just a lot of storage and cabinet space. Now, one thing we want to talk about with these cabinets is when you pull your side-by-side in, sometimes we get people scratching these with their cage. So just be really careful to angle in, and then watch your height with your cage and everything when you're coming in. You don't want to scrape these up or park too close to the glass. We've had people shatter them before. That's not fun either. So just be aware of all of this stuff. Now we're gonna start talking about the kitchen area. This is a fantastic kitchen. It's really cool design. This comes in and out, tons of space. You have your cooktops here. You have your cabinetry. Just remember, any major appliance, air conditioner, microwave, any of that kind of stuff, you need a generator on and running to use or plugged in at the park with shore power. Now the air conditioning system right here is right here. So to turn it on, there's a mode button. What you wanna do to kind of wake it up is hold it for about 5 seconds. It's gonna light up blue. And then it says modes. You can go to heater to fan to air conditioner to off. And then you can do temperature control here. There's another identical one of these in the master bedroom. One thing, if you are dry camping, we recommend you only use one air conditioner, okay? You can freeze the coils up. You can do a lot of things when you're running that generator. So you just want to make sure whenever you're dry camping, you're using one air conditioner. If you're hooked in at an RV park, you have plenty of power, you can then run both AC units. These are really fantastic. It's really a lot of good airflow in this, and it's really tall. So it's pretty amazing. So we're going to talk about the bathroom here, and I'm going to come in here and show you how to use it. But before I get there, I want to talk about this little panel right down here at the bottom. Just like your house would have a breaker panel, this has a breaker panel and fuse panel all right there. So if one of the electrical outlets isn't working or something like that, you always want to check that first, and just to make sure we are good and you haven't broke a fuse or anything. As we come into the bathroom, pretty nice space here. One thing I want to talk about is right here on the wall, there's a GFCI outlet. To reset it, you're just gonna push it down. It'll go ahead and reset. And then you do have your hot water heater here on the wall. It is like a insta hot water. It's not exactly instant. Once you turn it on, it'll take about 5 to 10 minutes to heat up. You can set your temperature and then you're good to go. You also have your shower. This is a radius shower. It opens up. Just make sure anytime you're traveling, you have this latched. We have had 1 or 2 people not latch that, and then this glass actually has become damaged. So just be aware of that. And then lastly, your toilet. Right here at the bottom, if you've never used an RV toilet, is a pedal. Now, to use the toilet, you actually push that down halfway, and then that's gonna fill up the toilet bowl with water. You're gonna handle all your business, and then when you're done, you're gonna go ahead and push that down all the way. We always recommend you run about some water through it for about 5 or 10 seconds after you flush. Now we're gonna head into the master bedroom right here and talk about a few things in there. So it's a great space. This is one of the best master bedrooms you'll find. You have great outlets on the side there, USBs for charging cell phones and that kind of stuff. And then lastly, right here, we were talking about the second air conditioning control right here. And then you do have another external door. You guys are gonna love this RV. It's fantastic. It's spacious. We can't wait to see you, and we'll see you soon.